Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about taking tricky topics and turning them into insights you can actually use. All right, if you're gearing up for a big English test, you know the feeling. Part 3, it's that part with all the abstract, kind of out-of-the-blue questions that can feel, well, pretty scary, right? But here's the thing. A lot of that anxiety, it comes from myths and just plain bad advice. So today, we're going to bust those myths. We're going to replace that fear with some real confidence by showing you what examiners are actually looking for and how you can prepare way smarter. Okay, let's dive in. Okay, first things first, let's get really clear on what Part 3 is actually for, because it's not just another round of questions, it's a huge opportunity for you. This is your chance, really, to lock in the highest score the examiner is thinking about giving you. Your performance here can seal the deal on a great score from the earlier parts of the test, or even bump it up by showing you can talk about these bigger, broader topics. And these questions aren't just pulled out of a hat. There's a real logic to them. They start with something you've already talked about in Part 2, and then they kind of zoom out, broadening the discussion to your community, society, and often looking at how things were in the past, how they are now, and what they might be like in the future. All right, now for the fun part. Let's start busting some of those big myths, the kind of advice that can actually hurt you more than it helps. I'm sure you've heard this one, right? Use a template, talk for at least a minute. Well, that advice often leads to answers that sound a little something like this.
Now, this answer, it starts off pretty strong, doesn't it? But if you listen closely, you can hear where things start to, well, fall apart.
So what's the problem here? The main point gets totally lost. The speaker says effort is more important, but then talks about people being richer, which doesn't really connect. They're just trying to fill time, forcing a template, and it becomes a jumble. It's the classic trap. You focus so much on talking for a long time that you stop making sense. Here's the real goal. It's not to talk as long as you can. It's to make sure the listener actually understands your opinion. You should only keep talking if you have something important to add that makes your point clearer. Seriously, quality over quantity. Every single time. And that brings us to what might be the biggest game changer when it comes to Part 3. This one little shift in thinking can make all the difference. Okay, check this out. On one hand, you have the kind of question you see in a practice test. It's pretty straightforward, right? But then look at what a real examiner does. They take that basic question and they turn it into a real conversation. They adapt, they ask follow-ups. It's a completely different experience. See? The examiner is an active partner in this. They're listening to you, they're reacting to what you say, and they're helping the conversation grow. It's not a quiz, it's a real exchange of ideas. And get this, because it's a conversation, the top-scoring candidates aren't giving these long, one-minute speeches. Nope, their answers are often way shorter than you'd think. We're talking just 25 to 30 seconds on average before the examiner jumps back in. It's a back and forth. Okay, so if it's a quick back-and-forth conversation, how in the world are you supposed to come up with good ideas so fast? Well, the secret is actually hiding in how your brain works. Let's look at your 3 secret weapons. First up, you've got your working memory. Think of it like the processor, the CPU in your computer. Its job is to understand the question and think about it. But if you're busy trying to remember a template or worrying about how long you're talking, that CPU gets totally overloaded and it just can't function properly. Next, there's your episodic memory. This is your own personal library of stories and experiences. Tapping into this is so powerful. A real, specific example from your life, like a present your kids made for you, is 1,000,000 times more convincing than some vague general idea. And finally, your third weapon, semantic memory. This is basically your own internal Wikipedia, all the facts and general knowledge you have about the world. It's where you pull out a simple fact like celebrities are used in ads to sell products. And here's how it all fits together beautifully. The different kinds of questions are actually designed to get you to use these different memory systems. A question about the past, that's asking for a personal story from your episodic memory. But a question about the future, that needs your working memory to kick in and make a prediction. Here's another pro tip. You can use your grammar to show how certain you are. When you're stating a fact you know is true, use firm, direct language. But when you're giving an opinion or making a guess, use what's called hedging language, words like might or it could be. This is a really sophisticated way to show off your grammatical range. Okay, but what about that moment we all dread, when the examiner asks you a question and your mind just goes blank? You've never ever thought about this topic before. First thing,
don't panic.
There's a really simple strategy for this. 1, just admit you're not sure. Say something like, I haven't really thought about that before, but. 2, think out loud. Use what you do know from your life or general knowledge. And 3, based on that, try to come to some kind of conclusion at the end. This shows the examiner how you think, which is super impressive.
All right, we've busted the myths, we've got our secret weapons, so let's wrap this up with a much smarter way to actually prepare.
It all starts with a simple change in your mindset. Instead of thinking, I don't know, start thinking, I don't know yet. The goal isn't to be a global expert. It's just to have thought about common topics like technology, the environment, health, enough to have your own opinion.
And here is a great practical tool you can use, a speaking journal. The idea is simple. You take a general topic and you use the journal to connect it to your own personal experiences and ideas. It's a way to organize your thoughts ahead of time so you have something to draw on when you're in the test. So let's wrap it up. The big takeaway is this. Part 3 is not a terrifying speech. It's a conversation. That's it. So you need to trust your own ideas and your own experiences, not some rigid template. You've got the tools, you got the right mindset. So my question to you is, what topic are you going to explore first?